She sees a dying man at her door and saves him, only to find he's a Korean mafia boss at midnight. 3:17 in the morning, and Maya's hands are covered in someone else's blood. The man on her apartment floor opens his eyes, sharp, alert, dangerous, and his first instinct is to reach for a weapon that isn't there. He jerks upright, winces from the pain of the stab wounds she spent 2 hours stitching with a sewing kit, and his gaze lands on her like a threat assessment. She's exhausted, blood on her clothes, her hands still trembling from adrenaline, and she can see him calculating who she is, what she wants, what leverage she might have. His voice comes out rough, suspicious, in broken English with a heavy Korean accent. "Who are
Who are
you?"
you?
A pause, his eyes scanning her modest apartment. Books everywhere, research papers, a student ID on the table. "Why am I here?" Another pause, and she can see the confusion breaking through his control. "How did I get here?" Maya sits back against the wall, wipes her forehead with her arm, and for a moment she wonders if she's made the worst decision of her life. Because the man she just saved, the stranger she dragged inside, patched up, kept alive, is looking at her like he's never been shown mercy without a price. And something in his expression tells her he's the kind of person who always collects debts. She watches him take in every detail of her space, watches the moment his hand moves instinctively to his neck where a tattoo curves just above his collar, watches him assess exits and angles even while bleeding through makeshift bandages. This is not a man accustomed to vulnerability. This is not a man who expects kindness. And now he's in her home, and she has no idea what comes next. Before we continue, I want to welcome you to Seoul Syndicate Romance. First time here. You're already in. Stay close. This story's already in motion. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Your support means a lot to this channel. But to understand how it got here, we need to go back to when it all started. 11:47 p.m., 6 hours earlier. Maya's feet hurt in that specific way that comes from standing too long in cheap shoes on hard floors. She's been translating academic papers for 8 hours straight in a cramped office in Gangnam, her part-time job that pays just enough to keep her modest one-room apartment in Yeonnam-dong and fund her graduate research at Seoul National University. She's 26, been in Seoul for 18 months, and her Korean is functional but far from fluent, good enough for subway directions and convenience store transactions, not good enough for the nuanced conversations her research demands. Tonight she's tired in a way that goes deeper than physical. Tired of being underestimated in department meetings, tired of the small racist comments disguised as curiosity, tired of being told her dissertation on urban sociology and invisible boundaries is very interesting for someone like you. The unspoken implication being that someone like her shouldn't be studying Korean cities at all. She takes the subway home, stands because all the seats are full, watches Seoul pass by through scratched windows, thinks about her family back in Atlanta. Her grandmother who doesn't understand why she came so far, her mother who worries constantly, her younger brother who thinks she's crazy for choosing this. She walks the quiet streets from the subway to her apartment, key card already in hand. The neighborhood is safe enough, mostly residential, the kind of area where families live and students rent cheap places near the university. She's walked this route 100 times, climbs the stairs to her second-floor apartment, already thinking about a shower and sleep and the dissertation chapter she needs to finish by Friday. Her advisor is losing patience with her. She can feel it. Then she almost trips over someone. A man collapsed against her door, breathing shallow and wet-sounding, expensive suit soaked in blood that looks black in the dim hallway light. For 3 seconds she freezes completely. Her brain struggles to process what she's seeing. Then options flood through her mind. Call the police, but what if they ask about her visa status? What if they think she did this? What if there are complications she can't afford? Call an ambulance, but he's blocking her door and barely conscious, and what if he dies while she's making the call? Walk away, pretend she didn't see him, let someone else find him in the morning. But she does see him. His face turned toward her, young, maybe early 30s, blood at the corner of his mouth, eyes flickering, trying to say something in Korean she can't understand. Just a person, bleeding, dying on her doorstep. Maya's grandmother taught her two things: how to sew a perfect stitch and how to see people as people first. The second lesson wins. Okay, okay, Jesus, okay. She unlocks her door with shaking hands, drops her bag inside, comes back for him. He's heavy, deadweight, and she's not strong, but she's determined. She grabs him under his arms, pulls, drags, ignores the way his blood soaks into her work clothes. His expensive shoes scrape on her floor. She leaves a blood trail from the hallway to her apartment and knows she'll have to clean that later, knows someone might see it, decides she'll worry about consequences after she deals with immediate death. Locks the door behind them. Lays him on every towel she owns in the middle of her small apartment. Her hands are already covered in his blood. Her EMT training from back home kicks in, check airway, breathing, circulation. She tilts his head back, makes sure he's breathing. Checks his pulse at his neck and feels it, weak but there. 2 stab wounds that she can see, one near his ribs on the left side, one on his right shoulder, both deep, both still bleeding. She works fast, direct pressure with clean towels, elevation, her first aid kit that's designed for scraped knees and paper cuts, not knife wounds. She cuts away his shirt with kitchen scissors and sees more, scars, old ones, evidence of a life lived violently. And the tattoo. Large, elaborate, traditional Korean design spanning his back and creeping up his neck. She's seen similar tattoos in her research, in the academic papers about Seoul's organized crime structures. Her stomach tightens, but she doesn't stop working. She tries Korean with her limited vocabulary. Gwenchana, are you okay? A stupid question when someone's been stabbed, but it's all she has. He mumbles something incoherent, delirious. She switches to English even though he probably doesn't understand. Stay with me. Don't die in my apartment. Please don't die in my apartment. I have a dissertation defense in 3 months and I really can't handle a dead body right now. 2 hours. She works steadily, methodically, like she's taking an exam she can't afford to fail. Cleans wounds with rubbing alcohol and he barely flinches even in his semi-conscious state, which tells her something about his pain tolerance. She uses her sewing kit because she doesn't have medical sutures, small, careful stitches like her grandmother taught her for quilts, except this is human skin and it's nothing like fabric. Her hands shake but her stitches are neat. She learned precision from her grandmother, learned not to waste thread, learned that every stitch matters. Bandages from her bathroom medicine cabinet, gauze pads, medical tape. She monitors his breathing every few minutes, checks his pulse, keeps him on his side so he doesn't choke if he vomits. The blood soaks through her towels, stains her floor, covers her hands and clothes, and gets under her fingernails. She's terrified, but she doesn't stop. Can't stop. Because stopping means watching someone die, and she discovered tonight that she's not capable of that. By 3 a.m. she's exhausted in her bones. She's cleaning the last wound on his shoulder, being gentle even though he can't feel it when his eyes open. Not the flickering half-consciousness from before, fully awake, fully aware, and immediately, instinctively dangerous. He tries to sit up fast, military quick, and pain shoots through him hard enough that he gasps. His hand reaches for his waistband where a weapon should be. Nothing there. His gaze sweeps the room with the kind of precision that comes from training or experience or both. Exits, weapons, threats, advantages. Then lands on her. She watches him process it in real time. The bandages wrapped around his torso and shoulder, the blood-soaked towels, her exhausted face covered in his blood, her clothes ruined. The first aid supplies scattered around her small apartment, the student ID on her desk, the books in English, the maps of Seoul covered in research notes. She sees the exact moment he calculates who she is, what she wants, whether she's a threat or an opportunity or something he doesn't have a category for yet. Who are you? His English is broken but understandable, accent thick, voice rough from blood loss and trauma, suspicious, defensive, a man who trusts nothing and no one. Maya's too tired for fear. She's been running on adrenaline for hours and now it's crashing. She sits back against the wall, wipes her forehead with her forearm, leaves a smear of his blood on her skin. I'm Maya. You're here because you were bleeding to death outside my door. You got here because I dragged your heavy ass inside and spent 2 hours keeping you alive. She pauses, meets his eyes directly. You're welcome, by the way. He stares at her, really stares, a black woman. In Seoul, speaking broken Korean but fluent English saved his life. Doesn't know who he is. She watches him look at her more carefully now, notices the exhaustion, the blood on her clothes, her hands still trembling slightly from adrenaline come down, the student ID on her desk. Seoul National University. Graduate program. Urban sociology. Maya Chen. Her photo from 2 years ago when she was younger and more optimistic. His expression shifts just slightly. Confusion. Something that might be disbelief. You saved me. Not a question. A statement he's trying to process like it's in a foreign language. Yeah, well, couldn't exactly step over you every time I need to leave my apartment. She's aiming for casual, but her voice shakes a little. Because now that he's conscious, now that she can see the sharpness in his eyes, the tattoo visible on his neck, the scars covering his torso, the way he holds himself even injured like a weapon waiting for a target, now she's starting to understand she might have made a terrible mistake. You were dying. I had first aid training. It seemed like the thing to do at the time. You don't know me, he says slowly, still watching her, still calculating, like he's waiting for the angle to reveal itself. Number should I? The bad feeling grows. Are you famous or something, or should I say infamous? A long pause. His jaw tightens. Something like caution enters his expression. No, better that you don't. That's when Maya knows. Not the details, not the specifics, but the shape of it. She's seen enough in 18 months in Seoul, done enough research on the city's underground economy for her dissertation. The expensive suit now ruined with blood, the stab wounds that suggest attempted murder, not random mugging, the can't-go-to-hospital situation, the elaborate tattoo that looks professional and expensive, the scars that tell stories of violence survived. The way he moves like violence is a language he speaks fluently. She saved someone dangerous. Someone from a world she spent her entire academic career studying from a safe distance through books and interviews and statistical analysis. Now that world is bleeding on her floor. He's looking around her apartment now with what seems like genuine curiosity. Books stacked everywhere, urban planning theory, Korean history, sociology texts, novels in English mixed with Korean language learning books, research papers covering every surface, maps of Seoul covered in notes in English and broken Korean, different colored markers indicating different zones. Photos taped to the wall, her family in Atlanta, her grandmother smiling in front of her church, her younger brother at his college graduation, her desk covered in dissertation drafts. Chapter 3, Spatial Segregation and Moral Boundaries, a life that's modest but purposeful, intentional, built with care. He sees it all and something in his expression shifts again, like he's seeing something he doesn't recognize, something he doesn't have a framework for understanding. You're a student, he says, statement not question. Graduate student, urban sociology, I study cities, how people live in them, how they survive, how invisible lines divide communities without people even realizing it. She's cleaning up supplies, trying to stay busy, trying to process what she's done. Blood-soaked towels going into a garbage bag, first aid kit being repacked. Her hands won't stop shaking. Why am I telling you this? You need water. Can you drink or will you just vomit it up? She brings him water in a plastic cup from her kitchen. Their fingers brush when he takes it and he flinches, not from pain, from gentleness, like he's forgotten what it feels like to be touched without violence attached to it, without transaction or threat or calculation. He drinks slowly, watching her over the rim of the cup. She watches him back, sees the way he's controlling his breathing through obvious pain, sees intelligence in his eyes alongside the wariness, sees something that might be confusion, or might be something more complicated. Why did you help me? His voice is quieter now. The suspicion is still there, but underneath it's something else. Something that sounds like genuine confusion, like the question doesn't make sense in his worldview. Maya looks at him directly, holds his gaze. Because you were bleeding, that's enough. In that moment, something fundamental changes in Kang Min-jun's face. A crack in the armor he's worn for so long he forgot it was armor. He's 31 years old, strategic enforcer for the Beekpa crime syndicate, a man who spent 12 years believing every human interaction is transactional. Loyalty is bought with money or fear. Alliances are strategic calculations. Kindness is manipulation with patience. Trust is weakness waiting to be exploited. His own organization tried to kill him tonight, a faction led by the old guard who opposed his plan to expand their operations into new territories, to modernize their structure to take more territory. He was too ambitious, threatened too many established powers, so they sent men to remove him. Permanent removal. He crawled 3 blocks bleeding, expecting to die alone in the shadows, expecting nothing from anyone because that's how his world works. And this woman, this foreigner who gains nothing from saving him, who doesn't know his name or his power or his reputation, who could have called the police or walked away or let him die quietly, saved him because he was human and bleeding. That's enough. Those 2 words hit him harder than the knives did, because in his world nothing is ever enough. Everything has a price. Everyone wants something. Except apparently, this woman who just gave him 2 hours of her life and risked her safety and expects nothing in return. He watches her move around her apartment with no fear of him, no expectation from him, no calculation visible in her body language. Just tired humanity. She should be afraid he could hurt her easily, even injured. She should want something, leverage, money, protection, but she's just there, existing in a way he doesn't understand, a way that doesn't include threat assessment or power dynamics or strategic positioning. He realizes slowly that he's forgotten this feeling. Being seen as a person instead of a player. Being treated like someone who deserves help simply because he's alive. Not because of who he is or what he can do or what he's worth. Just because he's human. "I'm Min-jun," he says quietly. His real name, not one of the several aliases he uses. Not a strategic lie, just truth offered because she gave him truth first. "Okay, Min-jun." She's already moving toward her bed, too exhausted to stay upright another minute. "I'm going to sleep for a few hours, try not to die or bleed on my research papers. Took me 6 months to compile that data. We'll figure out what to do with you in the morning." She pauses, looks back at him. "And don't try anything stupid. I have pepper spray and I know how to use it." A lie, she doesn't have pepper spray. But he doesn't need to know that. She collapses on her bed fully clothed and falls asleep within seconds. No fear, no suspicion, just exhaustion and trust. Min-jun sits against her wall, watching her breathe, feeling the bandages pull on his skin, feeling pain radiate from his wounds, and knows he will never forget this. This moment, this feeling. This woman who looked at him and saw something worth saving. He stays awake all night, watching her sleep, watching the window for threats, thinking about the word she used. Enough. He spent his entire adult life in a world where nothing is ever enough, where enough doesn't exist, where you always need more power, more territory, more fear, more control. And she saved him because he was bleeding, and that was enough. The simplicity of it is devastating. When Maya wakes at 8:30, pale morning light filtering through her curtains, the first thing she does is check if he's still breathing. He is. Still awake, actually, propped against the wall where she left him. His face less pale than before, but his eyes bloodshot from a sleepless night. She showers, scrubbing his blood off her skin until the water runs clear, changes into clean clothes, starts coffee. The normalcy feels surreal. There's a stranger in her apartment, a dangerous stranger with gang tattoos and knife wounds, and she's making coffee like it's a regular Tuesday. Like this is normal. Like she hasn't just blown up her entire life. He watches her move through her morning routine, watches her make coffee with precise movements, watches her check her phone and frown at messages, watches her sit at her desk and stare at her dissertation like she's trying to remember what it's about. She brings him water, pain medication from her medicine cabinet, a protein bar because it's all she has for breakfast. He takes them without comment, swallows the pills dry like someone used to pain, watches her with an expression she can't quite read. Something between curiosity and confusion and maybe gratitude, though he doesn't seem comfortable with that last one. "We need to talk," she says, sitting cross-legged on her bed facing him, creating distance, establishing boundaries, about what happens next. Over instant ramyun, she's not cooking elaborate meals for a stranger, she barely cooks for herself. They talk. She learns his name is Kang Min-jun. He works in business, which is obviously code for something illegal. He can't go to a hospital because he can't answer the questions they'd ask. He has enemies who are actively looking for him. With each answer, the red flags pile up, bright and obvious and impossible to ignore. She's not naive. She knows what this adds up to. "So what kind of business gets you stabbed?" she asks, pushing noodles around her bowl. Long pause. He's choosing his words carefully. "The kind you don't want to know about." That's not reassuring. "I know I'm not trying to reassure you, I'm trying to be honest." He meets her eyes. "You saved my life. The least I can do is not lie to you." "How noble," she says, but there's no heat in it, just exhaustion. "What about the people who stabbed you? Are they still looking?" "Yes. And if they find you here, then you're in danger." He says it flat, no emotion, just fact. "Which is why I need to leave as soon as I'm able." She notices when he shifts, winces, tries to hide it. His shirt, her old oversized t-shirt that she gave him to replace his ruined dress shirt, rides up slightly. She sees the tattoo on his back more clearly now. Large, elaborate, traditional Korean design, expensive and professional. Dragons and waves and symbols she doesn't fully understand. She's seen similar tattoos in her research, in photographs from interviews with former gang members, in the academic papers about Seoul's organized crime structures that trace back to the Japanese occupation. Her stomach drops. Oh no," she stands up, backs away. You're with the mob, Yakuza, whatever it's called here." "Japak," he corrects quietly. "Organized crime, yes, specifically the Beak Pa Syndicate." He watches her process this. "I understand if you want me to leave immediately." "You need to leave." Her voice is steadier than she feels. "Right now." "I will when it's safe." "Safe for you or safe for me?" She's angry now. "You brought this into my home. You brought danger into my life. I have a dissertation to finish. I have a life here. I don't." She stops, breathes. "You need to go." He looks at her directly, and for the first time she sees something like honesty in his face. Raw honesty, maybe painful honesty. "I don't know if it's safe for you anymore. They might have seen you help me. They might have been watching the street, I don't know. And I can't protect you if they did unless I know where the threat is coming from. So I'm asking." He pauses. "I'm asking for 48 hours, 2 days, to heal enough to move properly, to figure out who wants me dead and why. To make sure you're not caught in the crossfire." Maya struggles with it. She saved a gangster. She brought violence into her home, into her safe space, into the life she's carefully built over 18 months. But he's also a person who nearly died. And if he's telling the truth about her being in danger now. She looks at him, really looks. He's not threatening her. He's not demanding anything. He's asking, requesting. He's sitting there wounded, human, vulnerable in a way she suspects he's not used to being, looking back at her with an expression she can't quite name but thinks might be guilt. She thinks about her research, about invisible boundaries and moral choices and the space between what's right and what's safe. She thinks about her grandmother who always said you help people when they need it because someday you'll need help too. She thinks about what kind of person she wants to be. 48 hours, she says finally. That's it. You heal enough to leave safely, you figure out your situation, then you're gone, and we never speak of this again. Ever. Deal. Deal. And Maya, he waits until she looks at him. "Thank you for this, for last night, for seeing me as a person first." "Don't thank me yet," she says. "You might regret this." They develop an uneasy routine over the next 36 hours. She goes to classes in the afternoon. She can't skip everything. Her advisor is already annoyed with her missed meetings and incomplete work, and he stays hidden in her apartment, healing, sleeping, staying quiet. When she comes back, she half expects him to be gone, but he's always there. Reading, mostly. At first, she thinks he's just being polite, pretending to be interested in her books. Then she realizes he's actually reading them. Her research papers, her dissertation drafts, her notes on urban segregation patterns and economic boundaries, and the invisible walls that divide communities. On the second evening, she finds him sitting at her desk, her chapter 3 open on her laptop, his expression thoughtful despite the obvious pain he's still in. "You write that cities create barriers between people without them realizing it," he says without looking up. "Geographic proximity doesn't mean social proximity. People can live side by side for years and never really see each other. They inhabit the same space but different worlds." Yeah, she sits on her bed, surprised he understood the nuance. "That's the core argument of my dissertation, that physical boundaries are less important than social and economic ones in determining how people interact. I've lived in Seoul my entire life." His voice is quiet, contemplative. "I don't think I've ever really seen it the way you describe, just territories, boundaries, who controls what, which streets belong to which organization, where the money flows, where the power concentrates." He looks at her. "I've never thought about the people as people, just assets or threats or variables." "That's sad," Maya says honestly. "Yes," he agrees, "it is." She shows him something then, surprising herself. Her favorite thing about her apartment: from her small window, if you lean just right, you can see a playground where families gather in the evening. Kids on swings, parents chatting on benches, teenagers playing basketball until the lights come on. Normal life, safe life, community. "I love watching people just be normal, safe, together. It reminds me why I'm studying this. Because that," she points at the playground, "that's what cities are supposed to be. Spaces where people can exist together." Min-jun watches the playground and something in his chest tightens. He realizes he spent years controlling territories exactly like this one, extorting businesses near here, moving product through these neighborhoods, making sure everyone knows who's in charge, collecting protection money from the convenience store on the corner, the restaurant 3 blocks down, the PC bang where those teenagers probably go to play games. He's never once considered the actual lives within them. The families, the children, the safety, the normalness, the community. He sees it now through her eyes and feels something uncomfortably close to shame. This is what his world destroys, this innocence, this peace, this ordinary happiness. That night he can't sleep, which is normal. But it's not pain keeping him awake. It's the view from her window. The playground empty now, street lights casting long shadows, but he can still imagine what she described. Can see it through her eyes instead of his own. Can understand for the first time that his actions have consequences beyond strategy and territory. That there are people who just want to be safe, who deserve to be safe, and his world makes them less safe every day. 11:45 p.m. on the second night. Maya is sleeping finally. She's been running herself ragged, going to classes, keeping up with her work, checking on him, pretending everything's normal when her life has been completely disrupted. He's awake because he's always awake, looking out the window because he's restless when he sees them. 3 men, moving with purpose through the street below, checking parked cars systematically, showing people something, a photo, probably his photo. They're canvassing the neighborhood block by block. Someone remembered something. Someone saw blood on the sidewalk or a trail leading to this building or a girl dragging a man inside. They tracked him here. Maya, he moves fast despite the pain, crosses to her bed, covers her mouth before she can scream awake, before she can make a sound. They're here. Stay quiet. Don't make noise. She hears it then, her body going rigid. Boots on the stairs, multiple sets, heavy, purposeful, climbing fast. Her eyes go wide over his hand. He can feel her heartbeat racing, her breath coming quick through her nose. "Bathroom," he whispers directly into her ear. "Now, lock the door. Don't come out. No matter what you hear, no matter what happens, don't come out. Promise me." "Min-jun," her voice is tiny, terrified. "Promise me." His voice is harder now, commanding. "Promise me you'll stay hidden." I promise. He pushes her toward the bathroom, watches her stumble inside, watches her lock the door with shaking hands. The front door explodes inward, cheap lock, easy to kick. She should have better security, he thinks absurdly. 3 men pour in and Min-jun recognizes 2 of them. Jung and Park, former colleagues, the ones who held him down while someone else put the knives in him 48 hours ago. They're surprised to see him standing, armed with a kitchen knife Maya uses to cut vegetables. It would be funny if it wasn't so deadly. If there wasn't a terrified girl hiding in the bathroom depending on him. I thought you'd be dead by now, Jung says in Korean. I'm harder to kill than you thought, Min-jun replies also in Korean, stepping away from the bathroom door, drawing them toward him away from her. The fight is brutal. Maya hears all of it from the bathroom, hand over her mouth to keep from screaming, pressing against the door like she can make herself invisible through force of will. Breaking furniture, bodies hitting walls, shouting in Korean, vicious and angry and violent. Glass shattering, her lamp, her mugs, something ceramic breaking into pieces. A sound that might be bone cracking and she doesn't know whose bone, doesn't know if Min-jun is winning or losing or dying. Someone crashes into the bathroom door and she jumps back, biting her hand to keep quiet. More shouting, more breaking, the wet sound of fists hitting flesh. A scream that cuts off suddenly, then silence. She waits, counts to 60 slowly, each second lasting forever, counts again to be sure. Slowly, carefully unlocks the bathroom door, opens it a crack, sees her apartment destroyed and feels something break inside her chest. Her apartment is a war zone. Table broken in half, books scattered and torn, pages everywhere like snow. Lamp shattered, glass covering the floor. Blood on the walls, splatter patterns she'll see in her nightmares. Her research papers scattered, some torn, some soaked in blood. The life she built so carefully over 18 months destroyed in minutes. Min-jun is standing in the center of it all, breathing hard, blood from reopened wounds soaking through his bandages and her shirt. 2 men are unconscious on her floor. One fled, she can hear footsteps running down the stairs, fast and panicked. This is your world, she says. Her voice is steady but her hands are shaking violently. This destruction, this violence, this is what you are. She's not asking, she's stating fact. Yes, he doesn't try to defend it, doesn't make excuses, just truth. Get out. Tears start hot and angry. Not from fear, though she's terrified, from rage, from violation, from the loss of her safe space. Just get out. Maya. Now, get out of my apartment, get out of my life, just, her voice breaks. Just go. I can't. His voice is raw, desperate. They saw your face. They know you helped me. They'll come back for you to send a message, to find me. I don't know, but they'll come back. The reality hits her like cold water. She's not safe here anymore. She's not safe anywhere these people might look. Saving him didn't just cost her apartment's security, it cost her invisibility. Her safety, the careful life she built. She's visible now to dangerous people, people who destroy things. Pack a bag, he says, already pulling out his phone with blood-slicked fingers. You can't stay here tonight. Maybe not for a few days, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but you have to trust me one more time. I'm not going anywhere with you. But her voice lacks conviction, because what choice does she have? Then you'll die. He looks at her and she sees real fear in his face, fear for her. They don't leave witnesses, they don't take chances. I'm sorry I brought this into your life. I'm sorry I didn't die in that alley, but I can't undo it. All I can do is try to keep you alive, please. Let me do that. She has no choice. She packs quickly with shaking hands, laptop, research files on a flash drive, clothes, important documents, her passport, her phone charger, some books she can't leave behind. Everything important from her life that she can fit in one bag. He makes a call in rapid Korean, his voice transformed into something authoritative and cold. When he hangs, he's someone else entirely. The wounded man who read her research is gone. This is the crime boss. The one who gives orders and expects obedience. The one who survives. He takes her to a small apartment across the city in an area she doesn't recognize, neutral territory he calls it, someone who owes him a favor. An older woman answers the door, takes one look at Maya's terrified face and Min-jun's blood-soaked appearance, and nods without questions. "Stay here," he tells Maya, switching back to English. "3 days maximum. Don't leave the apartment. Don't call anyone. Don't use your credit card. Stay invisible. I'll handle this." "Handle what?" Her voice is small. "The people who did this. The people who hurt you, who destroyed your home." He looks back at her apartment building in the distance, or the direction of it anyway. "I'll make this right." "You can't make this right." She's crying now, exhausted and scared and angry. "You can't fix this." "I know, but I can make sure it doesn't get worse." He starts to leave, then stops, turns back. "Maya, I promise you'll be safe. That's the one thing I can promise. You'll be safe." He doesn't come back for 3 days. Maya stays in the safe house, terrified and furious and confused. The woman who owns the apartment doesn't speak English, but she brings Maya food and tea and clean towels and doesn't ask questions. Maya thinks about calling the police, but what would she say? "I saved a gangster and now other gangsters want to kill me." She thinks about going back to her apartment, but knows she can't. She thinks about Min-jun constantly and can't decide if she hates him or pities him or something more complicated than either. She works on her dissertation because it's the only thing she can control, typing on her laptop while sitting on a stranger's couch, trying to maintain normalcy in an abnormal situation. What she doesn't see, what she can't know. Min-jun moving through Seoul like a knife through silk, calling in every debt he's owed, making threats he fully intends to keep, meeting with people in dark rooms and making things very clear. He exposes the faction that tried to kill him, names names, provides evidence of their betrayal, proves they broke fundamental protocol by endangering a civilian unconnected to their world, a foreign student, someone who could bring international attention if she disappeared. In the Japak hierarchy, that's a violation, not because they care about civilians, but because it's sloppy, draws unwanted attention, creates risk from law enforcement, makes everyone vulnerable. He uses that angle, exploits it ruthlessly, turns the organization against the faction that betrayed him. He removes the leadership that sanctioned his execution, permanently, takes their position through a combination of strategic alliance and demonstrated strength, consolidates power quickly, decisively, while his enemies are off balance. It's not redemption, it's not becoming good, it's survival and strategy, but in the process he makes one unprecedented move. He declares new territory rules in a meeting with the organization's leadership. Universities, academic zones, foreign student housing, libraries, these are now protected territories, untouchable, off-limits for business. Anyone who conducts operations in these areas, anyone who threatens the people in them, anyone who violates this rule, they answer to him personally. The old guard pushes back, questions the logic. He explains coldly that foreign students bring international attention when they disappear, that academic areas have too much security and oversight, that it's strategic. But the real reason, the one he doesn't say, someone showed him those spaces matter. Someone showed him that there's value in protection that doesn't come from fear. It's not redemption. It's not leaving the darkness, but it's carving out small spaces of light within the darkness. Because someone showed him the light exists. 1 week after that night, he comes to return her things. Cleaned, repaired where possible, delivered to a cafe in Hongdae during daylight hours. Neutral territory, public space. Safe. Maya is already there when he arrives, and he can see immediately that she's changed. Less trusting, more guarded, more careful, older somehow. He did that to her. His world touched her and left marks. "Your apartment has been repaired," he says, sitting across from her at the small table. "Not too close, respecting distance. All damages paid for, new lock on your door reinforced, security camera in the hallway. You're not in danger anymore. I've made sure of that. Money doesn't fix what happened." Her voice is flat, carefully controlled. "It doesn't give me back the feeling of being safe in my own home. It doesn't erase the memory of men breaking down my door. Money doesn't fix trauma, Min-jun. I know. He looks down at his hands, scarred and dangerous. Nothing can. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. Long silence. The cafe bustles around them. Students studying for exams, couples on dates, friends catching up, normal life continuing. The space between Maya and Min-jun feels vast despite the small table, like they're on different planets. That night when I found you bleeding, Maya says finally, carefully, if I could go back knowing what I know now, knowing what it would cost me, I'd still save you, because that's who I am. That's who I choose to be. But I also choose not to be part of your world. I choose to walk away from this, from you. And those things can both be true. They can, Min-jun says quietly. They should be. He pauses, choosing words carefully. You showed me something I thought didn't exist. Real kindness, with no angle, no debt, no transaction attached. Just humanity, just decency. I won't forget that, I can't. Don't forget it, but don't romanticize it either. She meets his eyes. I'm not your savior, I'm not your redemption. I'm not going to change you or fix you or make you good. I'm just someone who helped someone who was bleeding. That's all this was. That's exactly why it mattered. He stands slowly, carefully, like he's afraid sudden movement will break something fragile. Thank you, Maya, for seeing me as human when everyone else, including myself, had forgotten how to do that. She extends her hand. He shakes it, formal, final, professional, the end of something that never really began. Goodbye, Min-jun. Goodbye, Maya. I hope you finish your dissertation. I hope Seoul gives you everything you came here to find. She walks away first, doesn't look back, disappears into the crowd of Seoul. He watches until he can't see her anymore, this woman who changed something fundamental in him by expecting nothing in return. Then he turns and walks the opposite direction. Two paths that crossed once, changed each other forever, and honored that change by not forcing what couldn't exist. 6 months later, Maya defends her dissertation successfully. Her research on invisible urban boundaries feels different now. More real, more urgent, personal in a way it wasn't before. She adds a footnote to her conclusion about how boundaries aren't just geographic or economic, they're moral, protective, necessary. About how some lines exist for a reason. Her committee praises the depth of insight. She doesn't tell them where it came from. She still thinks about that night sometimes, about the choice she made and what it cost her. Her apartment feels different even after repairs. She jumps at unexpected sounds, checks her locks multiple times, scans crowds for familiar faces, but she doesn't regret it. Regret would mean wishing she'd let him die, and she's not capable of that. Won't let herself become capable of that. Some connections matter precisely because they end. Some people transform you and then let you go. That's not failure. That's respect. That's wisdom. That's understanding that not everything beautiful has to last forever to be meaningful. Min-jun is still in the darkness. He won't pretend otherwise, won't lie to himself about what he is or what he does. But when his men patrol now, there are places they don't touch. Students walking home late from libraries, families in playgrounds, coffee shops where people study. Small pieces of innocence he once would have ignored or exploited. He protects those spaces when he can, enforces the rules he created, makes examples of people who violate them. It's not enough to call it redemption. It doesn't balance his accounts or wash his hands clean, but it's something. A small light he keeps burning in the darkness, because someone once showed him that mercy isn't weakness, that kindness exists without transaction, that humanity is possible even in hell. And he carries that lesson with him, guards it, protects it the only way he knows how, through the same violence that defines his world but directed differently now, aimed at protecting instead of destroying. It's not salvation. But it's not nothing either. They see each other once more, months after that cafe meeting, the subway during evening rush hour. Maya boards the last car, tired from a day of teaching undergraduate courses, thinking about dinner and her new apartment in a quieter neighborhood. The doors are closing when she spots him across the platform on the other side of the tracks. Their eyes meet for exactly 3 seconds, long enough to recognize, long enough to remember, not long enough to speak. She nods once. He nods back. The doors close. The train moves, and that's enough. They don't need words, don't need explanation or closure or anything more than that simple acknowledgement. You changed me. I see you. Thank you. Goodbye. Not every debt can be repaid. Not every connection needs to be permanent to be important. Sometimes the most important people in our lives are the ones who teach us something essential and then walk away. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting someone go, not because you don't care, but because you care enough to understand that some worlds can't mix. Some boundaries exist for a reason. Some distances protect both people. The lesson was never about saving him, Maya realizes later. It was about choosing who you are when no one's watching, about maintaining your humanity even when it costs you, about understanding that some boundaries exist for a reason, and respecting them isn't coldness, it's wisdom. She learned that her kindness doesn't have to extend into danger to be valid, that helping someone doesn't mean joining their world, that you can see someone's humanity without accepting their choices. Min-jun learned that power without humanity is just sophisticated violence, that control without compassion is just elaborate cruelty, that he can't leave his world but he can change how he operates within it. He learned that transformation doesn't require forever. Sometimes it just requires one night, one choice, one moment of unexpected grace that cracks the armor you've worn so long you forgot it was crushing you. They both learned that not every story ends with "and they lived happily ever after." Some stories end with "and they both became better versions of themselves apart." Some stories end with mutual respect and separate paths, and that's not a sad ending. It's a realistic one, an honest one, maybe even a hopeful one in its own way. If you found yourself bleeding outside a stranger's door, would you hope for mercy? And if you found someone dying, would you risk everything to give it? These questions don't have easy answers. The answers depend on who you are, what you believe, what you're willing to risk, what you're willing to lose. But they're worth asking, because the answers define us. And sometimes in the space between danger and safety, between what's right and what's easy, we discover who we really are.